Hi, good morning. A
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Rabbi.
little bit of a cold. Well, I want to start by giving a Shevach V'Hador, giving a acknowledgement and a blessing to all of us for the miracles which have happened in the last 24 hours. And Hashem is Baruch, Almighty God, Hillel V'Lishon Shem Yisrael, does not slumber and watches over his people, and that we should only have good things to report, open miracles, and we don't take lightly the miracles what HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us. We acknowledge them. We're supposed to acknowledge them and give special prayers and thanks to God for all that happens to us. So please, everybody, please, everybody has to please mute. So before we begin, and we had a special historical moment today, we're going to start, of course, with words of prayer.
Okay, I play here.
Please, everybody, fellas, everybody, we need everybody to be on. We have to, like I said, we start with prayers. And we ask for chesed, rachamim, compassion, and continued compassion from above. We have in mind all those who never have been injured, who have even passed on during the war, which we've the last week. We always keep in mind the hostages, that there should peace, real peace, true peace. So we'll start with chapter 20, as we always do. Lama Naseach Mitzvah David, for the conduct a sign by David. A psalm by David. May the Lord answer you on the day of distress. May the name of the God of Jacob fortify you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and support you from Zion. May you remember all your offerings and always accept favorably your sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill your every counsel. We will rejoice in your deliverance and raise our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord fulfill all your wishes. Now I know that the Lord has delivered his anointed one, answering him from his holy heaven with the mighty saving power of his right hand. Some rely upon chariots, some upon horse, but we rely upon and invoke the name of the Lord our God. They bend and fall, but we rise and stand firm. Lord, deliver us. May the King answer us on the day that we call. Chapter 23, Book of Psalms. Middle David, a psalm by David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall lack nothing. He lays me down in green pastures and leads me beside still waters. He revives my soul, he directs me in the path of righteousness for the sake of his name. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they will comfort me. You will prepare a table for me before my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup is full. Only goodness and kindness shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for many long years. We have the Pilpul chapter 120, 124. Kuf Chav Daled. Shir HaMalaz L'David Ulanu Sha'ilanu Yemano Yisrael. A song of ascents by David, were not for the Lord who was with us, that Israel declare. L'Ulanu Sha'ilanu B'kum Aleinu Adam, were it not for the Lord who was with us when men rose up against us. Then they would have swallowed us alive in their burning rage against us. Then the waters would have inundated us, the torrent would have swept over our soul. Then the raging water would have surged over our soul. Blessed is the Lord who did not permit us to be prey for their teeth. Our soul is like a bird which had escaped from the fowl's snare. The snare broke and we escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. As we read these words, as we read these words of Tehillim, we find how applicable they are to the time which we live now, and the open miracle that we have seen, we'll continue, God willing, to see. We don't take anything for granted. We understand all this is Chesed Hashem. This is God's mercy and God's kindness is shown to us and throughout the world. And we ask and we plead to God, please continue with your mercy and with your with providing us with all the shelters, spiritual shelters, physical shelters that we need. Now, before obviously this Pilpul was prepared before what happened yesterday, but we were, and I wanted to, as we had this past week, and we are going through now, and I've been in contact with people in Israel, in Israel, Shammai, and other places, getting firsthand reports of what's going on. I have my own family there, a son, granddaughter in school. So all of us are all clued in, and we understand the tzavasha. We understand the seriousness of the moment. Like I said, we understand the greatness and the miracles and the blessings. We also pray for those who have been injured and those who have passed on because of the bombings. We have to recognize, which we've discussed, but you have to focus that everything is interconnected. Well, somebody does in Seattle, somebody does in California, somebody does in Europe. What you do has an effect. It's really important to know that. The interconnectedness. And there is a Rambam, which we've learned more than once, more than twice, probably more than 5 times the last 5 years on Zoom, which is a central philosophical statement of the Rambam about the interconnectedness of every individual act. Whatever we do has an effect. You can think, well, what's the difference what I do in Seattle? What's the difference what I do in Chicago? What's the difference what I do in Pittsburgh? What's what I have in Europe, California? What does this have to do with what's going on in Israel, in the land of Israel? Well, the Rambam says very clearly it all has to do. It really does. And the Gewaltige Chidush that the Rebbe would add to this Rambam, that not many, when you focus on this Rambam, the Rebbe adds to the Rambam a very powerful addition, what the Rambam does not say, but the Rebbe says it over and over and over again about the interconnectedness and the power that we have, that what we do here affects there. It really does. And I'm not just talking because of emunah, of belief. I actually consider here and give you a whole hour of historical that I know from history, where somebody did something here, and 20 years later it had an effect here. We all can give situations if we contemplate life. What I did with my father and my mother did something as when I was a child of 5, affects me now, and as I grow older, appreciate more when I reflect, and I share with the next generation and next generation coming after me, how that has what you call a ripple effect. So the Rambam says, this is one of the most quoted Rambam the Rebbe would say in all his years and all the Holy Torah that he said. It's a Rambam Hilchot Teshuvah, the law of contrition, which we focus on the 7th in preparation of Rosh Hashanah, to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. The Rebbe said this is chapter 3, Halacha Daled. There's much more of an interconnectedness than this Rambam. That what you do, everyone here on this Zoom and beyond, what you decide to do today or tomorrow, or within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, has an effect. The Rambam says as follows, talking about what shofar has to affect. Wake up, you who sleep, the sleeper one from your sleep, and you who slumber arise. Expect your deed, repent, remember your Creator. Those who forgot the truth and the vanities of time and throughout the entire year. Then he goes on to say, Lefikach, therefore, sort of call Adam, according throughout, a person should always, every person, I'm going to say some people, the rabbis, the leaders, the prophets. No. So every individual person. In fact, every individual creation of God. She asked me, throughout the entire year, a person should always look at himself equally balanced between merit and sin. Go beyond yourself. The world is equally balanced between merit and sin. Half and half. It's right. It's a scale. God forbid, on that kind of scale, balance, top, if a person performs one sin, he tips his balance and the entire world to the side of guilt and bring destruction upon himself. Also mitzvah achas. On the other hand, conversely, if he performed one mitzvah, he tips his balance and that of the entire world to the side of merit and brings deliverance and salvation to himself and others. Said the Proverbs says, a righteous man is the foundation of the world. Righteous man, one person. He who acted righteously tipped the balance of the entire world to merit and saved it. Save the world. You understand? This is serious. Save the world. Your one good deed. That is the deed which will save the world. Open Rambam, a psak and Rambam. What did the Rebbe add? Rebbe adds to this Rambam. We're not only talking about deed. Says the Rebbe, diba achas, one utterance, an utterance. Machshava achas, a thought. The Rebbe adds to the Rambam not only deed, an utterance, or even a machshava teva, a machshava. Even though in halacha you can have a whole pilpul with this machshava, dvarim shebelev, what relevance does thought have in practical life? Rambam Paskins have rules that if a person in his mind says, I'm going to give $100,000 to a shul, or $500 to a person, I only think it. I have no obligation to follow through on that. I say it, becomes more of a question. I shake a hand on it, more. But if I think I want to do this, and I'll do this, can the rabbi say, you thought this thought, you have to follow up on your thought, and you made a pledge, you said in your mind, I'm going to give $1,000 or $100 or $15 or $5 for a cause in my thought. I never said it. It'd be hard in Allah to say that you have to follow through. Nevertheless, the Rebbe says, spiritually, one thought, a positive thought, had an impact on the whole cosmos. Rambam says, my sechot. I was talking, I said, I've told this story, and I said it again this week in California, where we came back from two simchas. I told them a story with me. When I was a boy, my day to Shmuel, I'll never forget it. This was my biggest lesson about the Shoah. A man like my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, lost my Bubba, his wife, in the Vilna ghetto. 2 sons shot by the Germans. 2 other children died at a young age from plagues. Came to America alone. My father, brother, and sister. 3 of the 7 children were alive. Was taken by the German, by the Soviets. 29 of the Rav. Imprisoned with 31 people in one cell. One cell. Deported to the Gulag for 2.5 years, 3 years. Was the leader, the mashpia. When he spoke, everybody gathered around him. Everybody gathered around Rab Shmuel. Here we are, the summer of 61. In the mountains. He would come up for 2-3 weeks from the mountain. It was hot in New York, and all we brought him up. He stayed, would live with us. So during the week, there was a minyan. In the casino, we had a minyan. Students, visitors, other people came, different, the bungalow colonies. And between Mincha and Mariv, the afternoon prayer and the evening prayer, he gave a class. 15 people sat around. And one afternoon, I could see it right now, talking now in 2025. A Jew sits down next to him, not a Chabadnik, but a vision still with his hat up, sits next to my grandfather. A little bit older than my father, but younger than my grandfather by 15 years at least. And my grandfather turns to him and says, "You give the class." And I was shocked. Who is this man that my grandfather turned to that he should give the class? My grandfather was the one that everybody crowded around him from all sides, piled up to hear Vachim Ab Shmuel. And I could see him now walking home with him from Iftamai, deep in thought. I'm trying to understand, why did he defer that this Yid younger than him? What's special about this Jew? I was totally perplexed. And he said these words. And he saw I was perplexed. I might have said something in my broken Yiddish. He said these words. As a Yid from the Lager, he went through Hitler, Yamach Shammai, Auschwitz. Und a Yid from the Lager darf man hören. And a Jew who went through the Lager, the concentration camp, you have to listen to. So here's a Yid who lost his Rebbitzin in the Vilna ghetto. 2 sons killed by the Germans. 2 other children in a plague. Sat at 9 months with 31 people in a cell. Went off to Siberia for 2.5 years. But he felt what a Yid went through in Auschwitz is a whole different level than what he went through. Do you know what kind of impact that made on me? I didn't need to read a lot of books about Auschwitz after I saw my grandfather like that. One little story. And I've told that story in front of thousands and thousands of people throughout the years. I told it in front of Seattle Prep for 25 years. Every year I told the story. And they stood there like glued to me. One story from one episode that I saw my grandfather, the small child, about the Shoah, about the Holocaust, left that impression upon me that thousands upon thousands upon thousands probably go ongoing. One little Maisa, when the Rambam writes Maisa Echad, one little deed, one act has this spiritual power and energy that when we sit here in Seattle, I'm going to tell you another story. What happened last week to 2 of my grandchildren. Chani says, "You sure you want to tell the story?" I'm going to tell the story. So I got Mike here, we're standing by, this is, Nebuchadnezzar's in the middle of the war with Iran, but this is before the Shabbos. So one of my 2 grandsons, one who's 21, one who's 18, and they're standing around me, right? Like I'm ready to get, they feel like, you want to come on, give it to us, tell us really what you, by the Rebbe, tell it to us, come on, lady, give it to us, come on, say, give us the real deal, the bottom line. I'm sitting, my grandfather, the sugar state, they're hacking me from all sides. But I'm going to tell you something. The war broke out with Iran. Your grandfather, I say to my 2 grandsons, I confessed to them, I like ice cream. I like a good ice cream. Chatosi. Okay, I'm saying it in front of everybody here. And then they're going to go on YouTube. Who knows how many people could hear it? I like a cup of ice cream. So we bought ice cream cups. The ice cream cups have half chocolate and half vanilla. Oh, that's a good cup. I'm telling you, those are good. The war breaks out with Iran. Friday, I'm in California. I had my first cup Thursday or Wednesday. When it happened, I said, I remembered what I read somewhere that during the war, Second World War, one of the elderly Rebbitzins said she never had sugar with her coffee any time during the war. She held back from her sugar all those 5 years in America. What could she do in America? But she heard what was going on in Europe. She didn't take sugar. 5 years. So I said, I remember that and other things that Elie Wiesel said. So I said to myself, I'm not having ice cream today. My brothers and sisters, They're in a war. We don't know what's going to be here with Iran. Missiles are flying into Eretz Yisrael. I'm not having ice cream Friday, the first day they started shooting missiles. I didn't have it Shabbos, and I didn't have it Sunday, and I didn't have it Monday, and I didn't have it Tuesday, and I didn't have it Wednesday, and I didn't have it Thursday, and I didn't have it Friday, and I didn't have it today. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not easy. Those two grandsons of mine were so quiet. And one of them says to me, you know, Daddy, that's really very hard to do. I said, yeah, that's really very hard to do. But your grandfather's doing it, and it's not easy for me to do it either. But I'm not having my ice cream when our brothers and sisters are under attack. It's a private little deal, a little something, just a little something. I think it's mega, but those two grandchildren will never forget what their grandfather told them, standing there by the chuppah of one of their cousins. Anything we do, positive, let's talk about positive, talking good, reaching out, calling somebody who you haven't spoken to in 20 years because of ABC. Just call them and say good Shabbos. This is the time to interconnect. There's a spiritual interconnectedness. And this segues into, I chose the discussion about Avos Yisrael. Now this is, we talk about Avos Yisrael, we talk about love your fellow as thyself, okay? Now that's a verse, it's a pasuk. You should love your fellow like yourself. It's a pasuk in Vayikra. Rambam brings it down, Hilchot Deis, says, in the intro, to Hilchot Deis and the laws of personality development, love others. The English translated to love others. Interesting translation in English. To love others. Love others, all right? We're from the 60s, we love, right? Yeah. That's just mean love. Anybody love? So the Rambam writes, this is in Hilchot Deis, chapter 6:3. And you're going to see, as we get into the Avos Yisrael concept, there's the Rambam's position, there's Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch Harav, his word, the Alter Rebbe's wording, the Mishnah Berurah's wording, and Aruch HaShulchan's wording. And the nuances are different and powerful. The Rambam says, this is chapter 6:3. Mitzvah kol adam levet kol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael kegufay. Says the Rambam, each man is commanded to love in each and every one of Israel as himself. The pasuk says in Leviticus, love your fellow man as yourself. That's the overarching statement. Lefikach, therefore, so what would you think would be the first thing if you love somebody? What should be the first thing? When you say, now again, we have fleshed out, what does it mean love? What's the first thing you would think, everyone here? What would be the first thing you'd say when you say an overarching statement of love? Well, let's flesh out what love means. Okay, Rabbi, you say, Rambam says love, but what does it mean love? Love is cheap, right? I would say, I love you, it's cheap. The Rambam says, the Rambam says specifics. One should speak praises of others. That's the very first thing. The translation of love, therefore, says the Rambam, one should speak the praises of others. That's number one. Number two, and to show concern for his monetary needs or money for or what he had or his possessions. And he is concerned with his own financial resources and means. And he seeks his own honor. We talk about honor, please, everybody mute. Honor, and we talk about mumming. Interesting. That's fleshing out. The Rambam fleshes out Avos Yisrael with these two things. Shvachei, praising and showing concern for their financial. Said the Rambam. Anyone who gains honor through the degradation of a colleague, says a very sharp chas v'sholom. Anyone who gains honor, what kind of honor? But Rambam said that anyone who gains honor through the degradation of a colleague, does not have a share in the world to come. That's real strong. The positive is, the Rambam doesn't talk about high food kind of things. He says very practical things. What's Avas? The Rambam translates it in a very practical way, life issues. That's where it comes out. Those are the two things, and he fleshes out the mitzvah. Okay, that's the Rambam. Comes out to the Rebbe, and says as follows. Now listen to the difference. Not a mastama difference, major difference. In two ways. One way from the Rambam, and one way, as you can see from this, Mr. Brewer and the Shulchan. The Rambam Kuf Nun Vav, Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, in 156, in Shulchan Aruch, in the Code of Law, the law of business involvement and other ethical directives. Says the Alter Rebbe, in Kuf Nun Vav 5, mitzvah called Adam, it's a positive commandment to come upon everyone, to love every other individual as his own person. Every other person, there's no caveat, Jew, non-Jew. Kol echad v'echad gegufe. Literally, love your fellow man as yourself. The Rebbe says, Alter Rebbe says, Kol echad v'echad gegufe. The Rambam says, Kol echad v'echad mi Yisrael gegufe. The Alter Rebbe says, Kol echad v'echad mi gufe, kegufe. And he says, the same way, therefore he has to be concerned for his honor and for the property of one fellow. As you're concerned about your own honor, you want to get the right aliyah in the shul. You want to get called, you want to be acknowledged, that. And money, these two things, honor and finances, interesting. Those are kishki issues, kishki issues. How you tell a person in the honor and in the finances. Oh, can you tell people about honor and finances? But we have this difference. Now the Rebbe says, called echad ve'echad gegufe. The Rambam doesn't say kol echad ve'echad. The Rambam says the loshin in the Rebbe Shulchan Aruch is that the loshin is.
On Calvin,
we need somebody. We need to please mute. That's the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Then you come to the Mr. Brewer. The Mr. Brewer says, interesting what the Aruch Shulchan is going to say. Says the Alter Shulchan, Mr. Brewer and Kuf Nun Vav. We need, mute. It says as follows. Says, after the brings down the Rambam. Then he says, says the Mr. Brewer, who are we talking about? We need people, we need you to mute. We need you please to mute. Okay. The dafka de achabatedo mitzvahs. He said the caveat. The Mr. Brewer says, dafka de achabatedo mitzvahs. Only one who is your friend in Torah mitzvahs, whatever that means. Abel Adam Rosha. The Mishnah will go further. But an evil person, who we saw publicly violated a major component of Torah and did not accept admonition. It's kind of flagrantly kept going it. Says the Mishnah Brewer, a real strong language. Mitzvah the mitzvah, please, mitzvah is nice. After, please, I don't want to mention the name. Please, you have to mute. Mitzvah. You have to then. It's not a mitzvah to love. It's a mitzvah to. I don't even say the word what the Mishnah Brewer says. It's a mitzvah to. I'm not gonna say to hate, but a very strong language from the Mishnah Brewer. Listen, nicely, meaning that. You should have real negative feelings to that person who does not follow what they say he has to follow, and openly, flagrantly. The Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch doesn't get into that. He says generally everybody You have to advise, you have to tell, you have all that. But at the end, Alter Rebbe does not say the word mitzvah l'snois like Mr. Bruce said. Mitzvah l'snois, that's a very strong statement. The Aruch HaShulchan, very interesting what he says. The Aruch HaShulchan says the same thing mitzvah l'snois say. He brings the language what the Mr. Bruce said, but then he says that is all interesting when he brings down. Harizal Kosa. That is all right, says the Aruch HaShulchan. Lekabel Keilan Film, it's a Shalaf L'Rach Kamecha. Before, which is what we daven in our Nusach, in our liturgy of Nusach Hadi. Before prayer, you should say, Kosa Lekabel, accept upon yourself the mitzvah of a Haftal L'Rach Kamecha. Generally. So here we have the Aruch HaShulchan. The language is more like the Mishnah Berurah, but he does end with this statement from the Arizal. So you see here in the concept of in fleshing out this whole, this is part of, and you can go on and on this whole discussion about this. You know, how do you deal with someone who's publicly desecrating, on and on. We see in the Alter Rebbe, Shulchan Aruch Harav, on doesn't say, he doesn't differentiate. You will try, you will speak, you will persuade, you will come, on and on, but doesn't say that this mitzvah doesn't apply to everybody. And that's a major, major distinction in Avos Yisrael. And in the mitzvah After Lach. So you have a major discussion. I'm not sure I ever discussed this difference here. The language, the Rambam says Yisrael. Alter Rebbe doesn't say Yisrael, said mitzvah everybody, which is literally what the pasuk said. The verse says, it doesn't say anybody. It means your friend, doesn't mean anybody. The Alter Rebbe is more in the language of the verse. And then we get into the nuances and we see these differences. Major differences here, which have ramifications. Now we come to another issue. There's a famous Gemara, a famous Talmudic discussion. We know the discussion about the one who wanted the story of one who wanted to come convert, and he came to Hillel and Shammai, the great luminaries. The Gemara on Shabbos, Daf Lamed Aleph 31, and he says as follows. Here's the Gemara. A very interesting story, a known story. We know it's quoted. There was another incident involving a certain Gentile who came before Shammai and said to him, convert me to do to them on conditions that you will teach me the entire Torah. While I'm standing on one foot. Yeah, he's making a deal. If you can teach me the whole Torah while I stand on one foot, I'll convert. But Shammai was not known to be, he was a no nonsense kind of. Upon hearing these words, Shammai pushed the person away with the ruler. I mean, the ox should take a ruler, don't take a ruler. It said over here, Rashi, he started a stick with an arm long, so he kind of took the stick and said, hey, come on. You're coming to me making this on one foot, I should teach you the whole Torah. What do you at? But then he went to Hillel. Hillel. He came to Hillel. Gayari, and he says to Hillel, Daloch, he says, Amalei, convert me while I stand on one foot. So you know what he said? He said one statement to him. Amalei, before the conversion, Hillel said to him, Daloch sona lachavrach letavet. That which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. That's the whole Torah. This is a few words in the entire Torah. All the rest is but an elaboration of this one central point. Zil Gemara, now go and learn. This is it. I'm giving you the essence. What does he say? That which is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow. This is the few words. In this few words is the entire Torah. And all the rest is an elaboration on this one central point. You gave it to me. You tested me. Here it is. Go ahead, do it. The shaila, the question about Hillel is, why didn't he say the positive? The pasuk, quote the pasuk. The verse says, like I said in Leviticus, love your fellow yourself. That's the essence of the Torah. Son, what you don't like to be done to you, don't do you. What are you going around with a pilpul here? Let's go straight with the positive. What's this negative? Oh, there's a whole conversation about that. And here we get into a whole discussion because there is a big machlekes between the Rambam and the Ramban. What's the machlekes? What's the difference between the Rambam and the Ramban? The Rambam says clearly, love your fellow as yourself, meaning we can expect of a person, you should feel love for someone else like you feel for yourself. The Ramban says, no. That's no. I have it here in front of me. The Rambam says these words. He says, hafloga. It is an exaggeration. You hear the word that the Rambam says? To expect somebody to feel for somebody else like you feel for yourself, that's an exaggeration. That's not possible. For the human heart is incapable, says the Rambam, of loving someone else to the same degree that one loves himself. It's incapable. He says these words. That's not possible. You cannot expect, says the Ramban, meaning he differs from the Rambam. The Rambam takes it literal. Translates the verse in Kedoshim. Means love your fellow like yourself, that it is possible to love someone else like you love yourself. Says the Ramban, it's an exaggeration. You can't expect that. Whoa, you got a big deal here. So what can you expect? So what is the interpretation? So there are those who go with this, that what does Hillel, he's basing it on Hillel. That what Hillel said after he should have said the positive. What did he say? What you don't like, don't do to the others. That is possible. Loving someone like you love yourself, that's not possible. It's an adoration. So they bring samchus, that would the Hillel responded in the negative than in the positive, because that is possible. Don't do to others what you don't want to do to yourself. That we can't ask of you. We can't ask you that you feel palpable love so someone else like you live for yourself. That we can't ask. But we can ask, don't do to somebody something which you will not do to yourself. Whatever it is you don't like, down the line. Just don't do it. Don't do it. That's not, we can expect that from you, and we want that from you. The Libliner Rov, Amei Shapir of Hasholem, says a Gavald. He says it like this. He said, when someone is coming from the outside, wants to come into Judaism, atop the Jewish life, if you're going to start with the Avos Yisrael, with these feelings, that this is what generate these positive feelings for like you feel yourself, they're going to walk away. That's the issue. Someone like the Ramban says, it's impossible. You can ask, start them off like Hillel said. What you don't like done to yourself, don't do to others. That's a good first step. That's the Gewalt Gedach, what the Meir Shapir says, Pshat in Hillel. And he responded on one foot is in the negative, don't do to others, but you don't do to yourself. That's tangible. That you can expect in the first step of bringing somebody in and becoming part of the umbrella, part of the big tent of Judaism. You can start with that, but you can't start with something which even the Ramban says is problematic. It's the Meir Shapir's avot. A pshat in Hillel, the pshat in the process. You could talk about that for another 5 years. Meir Shapir's avot. You know what Meir Shapir? You know what Meir Shapir was? Yeah. Look up at Meir Shapir, the Lublin Adov. Chachma Berlin, he made the big, beautiful yeshiva. You know what the last words where he died, a very young man in Poland in 34, 35. His last words, they were around a church for Chosid. The last words that came out, Nur mit simcha, only with joy. Those were his last words, and he passed physically away. Nur mit simcha, only with joy. Yeah, hey, look at you, the holy Jew. Those were his last words. a heilige Yid. So now we have the Indian from Ahavas Yisrael, and you have the Indian of these different kind of feelings, and you have the issue of, well, everybody, I want to come back, and then I'm going to lead to the stories what I've witnessed, because people have asked me and wanted to know, and I put it down on the email. What I went through during the 6-Day War, being by the Rebbe. My eyes saw and my ears heard. It's not somebody else. I'm not saying anything what I didn't see and I didn't hear my own eyes. The bottom line, going back to the Rambam, which we started with, is that everybody on this Zoom and whoever you have any kind of ashpah you can influence, it goes in the little details in life. We are all interconnected. We all are on Zoom and are all on social media. What's happening? Do a positive act. Do something beyond what you normally want to do. Go counterintuitive. What you don't want to do, you don't like to do. Do it. In times like this, walk the extra mile. Call somebody who you really have issues with, legitimate issues. Call them and say, I love you. Been thinking about you. How you doing? Reach out to somebody. This do it. We need all of these positive energy. The world needs everybody's powerful energy. Everything what we do has an effect. Every little thing that we do has an effect. It really does. It really does. You know what it means? That you really deeply have real animosity to somebody because they wronged you. They really wronged you. They did wrong you. They wronged you 10 years ago when you were growing up. Your classmate did something bad. They said something about you. To call them up now is I know how difficult it is. To say, I'm just thinking about you. How are you? Do you know what kind of powerful energy you release when you do that? Powerful energy is released in this world that we live in. The Rambam says one act, the Rebbe says one utterance, one thought can turn the whole world. One. Just do it. I'm talking to myself, by the way. I'm talking to myself. You're my audience. I got things I got to do. I'm not just preaching to you. The 6-Day War. Well, there was 1967 was before Amazon, before the whole deal. Those we don't know what's going on. We heard things are going on in Israel. The Suez, Nasi Machshemai. But we really didn't know. I mean, we heard. I was in the yeshiva. I had a group of Israeli boys came right before Pesach, and they had more context. We really didn't understand that this was a totally different serious moment than the quote normative kind of situations happening then between Israel and those around Israel. Until the Rebbe spoke. That was Lag BaOmer Sunday. The war broke out the following Monday morning. We were talking about 7-8 days before was Lag BaOmer on a Sunday, and there was a tremendous gathering of children. Over 25-30,000 people gathered together on the Lag BaOmer. I was also one of the students taking care of a whole group. And the Rebbe would come out. And I remember when the first group, when I was 1952, there was a couple of hundred kids. I remember when the Rebbe went to the park when I was there, and that was probably 55 or 9, and came out to the park to the children. This is already was big, and it was a big crowd, and suddenly the Rebbe started speaking about the Rajibi Ashbin by Lag BaOmer. And then he began to talk about this verse. The verse in Vayikra at the end of Leviticus. It says the Torah as follows. V'nasati shalom ba'aretz. Chapter 26, verse 6. He started talking about this verse. V'nasati shalom ba'aretz. I will provide peace in the land. Whoa. We all got to start to talk about Israel. I will provide peace in the land. And you will lie down with none to frighten you. I will cause wild beasts to withdraw from the land. And a sword will not cross your land. That's the verse. This is Leviticus 26:6. Says Rashi. And a sword will not cross your land. It says Rashi ain't so he does not have to say that foreign swords will not come for war, Ella, but they will not come, I feel lava, even to cross by the way of your land, the Medina from one country to another country. Not only is not going to be a war in Israel, they're not going to even ask you to cross the land of Israel to go to war with another country through the land. That's the verse, that's what Rashi says. And it begins to speak about the situation in Israel, and that talks positive, that God will watch. We were like electrified. We were like, suddenly, this is serious. This is a whole different serious moment with like, whoa. We all felt like, wow. And he talked strongly about this. Already there was a build-up. Because Nathia Machshemah was saying, going to destroy. You have to understand, 1967 was 22 years after the Second World War, 45. And the average age of the survivors who came out of Auschwitz, Dachau, Bergen-Belsen, the average age was between 18 and 20. That age who survived, older ones, of course there was us, but the average age was 16 to 20. So you're talking about 22 years later, they're 40, 43. And the world of the survivors, I remember them in Crown Heights, they were having a total meltdown. They were thinking of, God forbid, this is another, Chas v'shalom, God forbid. I mean, they were having a colossal emotional meltdown. I remember seeing them. And the Rebbe came out and talked strongly that I remember walking by the Rebbe. That was very serious, but I walked with a whole group of children. They looked at me with a little smile, but the eyes were very. And then that whole week already, we started to hear, and we started to go out. For the first time, we always went out with putting on tefillin. We became more structured. The first trucks started going out to Manhattan. Boom. And as it became more ominous day after day after day after day. And then there were those who came to the Rebbe who had children learning in the yeshivas and wanted to bring home the kids. And the Rebbe said, do not bring them home. Stay there. It's going to be safe. But it was really, they had to have emunah. The Rebbe said, everything is going to work out. It's going to be good. Be strong. I remember my friend from Be'echsher Havafush Lema, his father, Yankel came all over home. The Rebbe said, don't touch the boys. They should stay in the yeshivas. And they went to work, digging, and putting up, they worked Shabbos, 2 days before the war. The Rebbe came out for Chassidic Fabring, and he came out very, very serious. Very serious. You could see him now serious. And began to speak more more mystically about the situation. And by the way, that was the first time that the Rebbe's presentation, which was on Sunday, like Bema, was carried in Israel and Kol Yisrael. They carried it on the radios. The big to-do, first time. Shabbos, the Rebbe came out. I've told you this. And the Rebbe was very serious, very. I remember Abiyel Kanal Vashom al Mashpiyah, that was Cheda, after the Rebbe left, he gathered around and said, Chevra, these were his words, Greitzach HaMachoma, prepare yourself, we're going to war. What he took from the Rebbe, prepare yourself, war is coming. And then Sunday night, it was 8 o'clock, 7:30, the Rebbe came out, the ladies came into the shul, the Rebbe spoke for them. I was outside on a hookup. We heard the Rebbe speak. With about 45 minutes, half an hour to an hour before the first planes left on the preemptive strike. We got it down in time. We didn't know that. And the Rebbe said those words, and the Rebbe's voice broke, and I've told you this. The Rebbe said these words: our brothers and sisters find themselves now in a shveda matziv, in a difficult situation. That was about in the hour before the planes left. And the Rebbe's voice broke when he said it. And then, when the war broke out, the first day, those who remember the first day, the reports started coming in, the bombing of Haifa was terrible. It was all bluff. But we didn't know that. Bombing, we went into the streets of Manhattan, and we had people lining up. I've told you the story. I remember Yid coming, jumping out of a car from somewhere in Long Island. Guy jumped out of a Cadillac. You never heard of a Cadillac. What do you want me to do? Tell me what to do. I can see him. He said, get online and put on film. Stood online. That was a mess. We went out, boom, into the streets. The Yaakov girls went through the trains. People were emptying out there. They made $40,000 in today's money going through the subways. Oh, to know what that in today's money? People were emptying everything they had. And then, thank God, the miracles came back. We heard, Ha'abai Shaladu. The Kesel is in our hands. The Rebbe came out and spoke 3 times at the Maimah. Oh, yeah, but who you talking about? 3 Maimah, he said, different times. That this is the blowing of the shofar, the beginning of the Messianic era. The blowing of the shofar, the Rebbe said. I remember reading the writings from people who were so secular, who said how they were aroused to turn to God at those moments. It's happening now. Serious times. But Almighty God is watching over us. Yes, we need the blessings to continue. We have to give a thanks, whatever political side you are, but you have to give a thanks to the President of the United States for doing what had to be done. Irregardless of what you feel. But you have to have a kodesh hatov. You have to have a kodesh hatov. You have to give thanks when thanks is due. The Almighty God should bless him and bless our country, our holy country, America. The Rebbe says, Medina Shel Chesed. The Rebbe called America a country of kindness, a kind world. And we could see, I go into the streets, I deal with people. The main thing is we have to go out, we have to be strong in ourselves. Not arrogant, God forbid, but assertive in who we are and project that wherever we go. And not to be defensive about anything. To be strong. Open a tillim, open a prayer. Say a prayer. We need all the blessings. We need all of us together to be involved. Everyone who you know. Call up a person and say, let's say the Shema Yisrael together online. I'll say it with you. I've done it. Sitting there in LA, I was calling people. We said the Shema together. Right? Some of you were on the phone there. I said with you the Shema. We believe in these things, that these spiritual elements have a major impact on the balance of the world. We give strength to our brothers and sisters who are on the front lines. Hashem will surely watch over us. Hashem will only bring Yeshua's salvation. Let's sing a song of reflection, a song of joy. It's a moment of thanks. It's a moment of joy. And it's a moment of reflection. All of it together. My voice is gone, though. You'll help me out. Try my best. Come on, label. Ya Yiladam, la-da-da-dam, the yay la-da-yinam, my la-da-yinam, hey la-da, al, fush lema, yilada, la-da-dam, na-da-da-dam, na-da-da-dam, ya yiladam, na-da-dam, na-da-da-dam, ya yiladam, na-da-da-dam, na-da-da-dam. Ya la Let's try a freilich one.
I'd join you if I knew the words, Rabbi.
Hey, My voice is a little bit shot. And have a beautiful week and all hold together, everybody. Everybody hold together. We need Yeshua Hashem to continue to have the blessings from above, the miracles and all. And again, I want to close by every little thing we do has an effect. And again, give a statement of gratitude to the President of the United States for the preemptive strike, what he did for America, for our country, and for Israel. He came through in a time of need. That is the bottom line. Whatever political side you're on, he came through in a moment of crisis. We have to acknowledge that.
God bless us all. God bless Israel.
God bless Israel. Take care.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.